and welcome to Korins Tower. My name is Steven.
Hey everybody, it's Justin.
And today we have some new additions for you. It was brought to my attention from a buddy of mine that watches my video that we should probably give a little bit more interaction with the CRD and the any updates essentially from the CRD, and be more specific to kind of help out the community as far as just more educational stuff, I guess, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so I would like to start off with the new additions to the CRD, actually. So the CRD has been updated to version 3.2 as of a week ago? Pretty recently.
Pretty recently.
And so we got a couple of new additions here. We're going to start off with the first one. When naming a card, when a card effect requires you to name an ally, you do not have to name the ally's subname. For example, Bulma ally would be acceptable. Otherwise, the exact card title must be named. So when it comes to allies, I can just name Goldo, and we're good. There's not going to be any issues with me having to name Goldo Ginyu Force to specifically get rid of it.
Yeah, see, that's how I just named the. I mean, I never actually played a black deck. I just assumed that's how it was, anyways. Like, I didn't expect anybody to name the subtitle of the card. But I guess, there's always going to be someone who wants the exact ruling. They want it to be perfectly clear what you have to do in that situation, and I respect that. And it's good to know that they don't have to memorize the subnames, because I don't know any of the subnames for the allies, honestly. So that's good. That's a good thing that you don't have to know the whole thing.
Yes, definitely, especially for high level tournament play. That just it's a little ridiculous as it is, trying to remember all the cards, much less having to remember the subnames of an ally.
Yeah, it's a little too much.
Yeah. So the next card on the list is Blue Guard. So it says treat this card as if it reads. If this card would be discarded from your hand by a card effect, you may banish it instead to draw a card. Stop energy attack. The card here actually says if this card is discarded from your hand by a card effect, you may banish it instead to draw a card. Now, in my mind, that really is not much different, if different at all. I'm not going to lie, as everybody else, I played Goldo wrong, and I feel that Blue Guard was also played wrong. And I just, it's like picking up the Saiyan Saga rulebook and literally expecting you to be able to play from that rulebook. No one played Saiyan Saga correctly when it came out. Not one person. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. You messed up something somewhere. So, specifically about this card, and the reason why I want to mention this, because I know there was a lot of, uproar about it, saying this card got nerfed or other stuff like that. Technically, the part that makes this card where it doesn't interact with things like Piccolo's power, or not Piccolo's,
Piccolo's power.
Yeah, Piccolo's power and Krillin level 1, and
also
even
Blue Style Mastery.
Yeah, even the Blue Style Mastery for the anger portion on that is actually the instead part on this card. It's not actually the part that they changed, which is the would be discarded. It's actually the instead part. Because when it actually goes to check for where that card is located, it had been banished instead of being discarded. So, I mean, yeah, they reworded it and everything, but I think they did this more of an educational thing. They helped us out by teaching us something that we didn't actually, we weren't doing correctly.
I think it's just a clarification is really what it is. Like, it's always been meant to be played this way. It's just people were, like, I guess the wording was a little ambiguous, and they just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. So I know you feel like, this might have nerfed some things, but like I said, honestly, no one started off playing the Saiyan Saga correctly. There's going to be, hiccups and stuff here. And one of my goals, for this video is for us to try to find these things before, Panini does, essentially, and start getting everybody on the same track. So that way we can use our knowledge to become better players, to be a better community, and to just, own people, because we're awesome. Everyone listening to this video is awesome, obviously, so, we all want to be awesome.
Yeah, it's nothing to be upset about. I mean, of course people are going to be upset that the card is not used the way that they thought it was used, but really it's their fault that they haven't been playing it correctly. It's not Panini's fault. Because honestly, the original wording on the card is perfectly like it means the same thing as what they changed it to. It's just that I didn't realize it did that either. I mean, it is clear now that I know what it's supposed to do, but I was playing it wrong the entire time as well because I didn't give it enough thought, I guess. I didn't think about the subtle interactions between card effects, because really the thing that it's changed was whenever you discard it to a card effect, and then that card that you discarded to checks what type of card it was for whatever reason. Well, because you're not actually discarding the card, because the card is being banished instead, you can't check its status. Like in Piccolo's level 2, it says if the card that was discarded was a styled card, then you get to draw a card and use a critical damage effect. Well, because the card's banished instead of being discarded, it can't check for that card because it's not a discarded card. It's a banished card, so it doesn't work. That's a pretty big difference. It's a very subtle interaction between the rules, though, and something I definitely didn't notice as either. I've played the card. I've played in a tournament with a blue style deck, and I used the card incorrectly several times. I mean, everybody has been. I didn't know that the card was supposed to be used that way. I've never seen anyone use it the way it should be used until they clarified it. But I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just kind of them pointing out, hey, this is how the card was supposed to be used in the first place, and so you guys need to get into shape, I guess.
Right.
Play it correctly. Which this is. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, we learn from our mistakes and become better players as
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a card game, and we have to follow the rules in order to play the game, and that's such an important thing to know, is the rules of the game that you're playing. If you want to be as good as you can possibly be at this game, you need to understand every single rule, as little, as insignificant as it may seem, as the tiniest little things. You need to know everything that could possibly happen. You need to know what your options are at every point in the game and exactly what will happen if you do certain card effects. And this is just an example of one of those cards that has been played incorrectly. But if you knew how to use it properly, that could be an advantage to you in some situations. But obviously, if you don't know about this card, how this card works, right, and you're playing against someone who does, and they call a judge on you because you used it wrong, you may lose a game because of something like this. It's not something to be upset about. Just it is what it is. Learn how to play the card correctly and move on.
Yeah,
really, it's.
And knowing about it ahead of time is definitely good. Like you said, you don't want to misplay during a tournament or a regional. You want to know what it is ahead of time, so that way you can play it correctly and not get a judge called on you for that. And this simplicity essentially applies to anything. It could the same goes for football or League of Legends. Any type of sports or any card game. I mean, the same thing applies. You're gonna you want to know all the rules. You're gonna want to focus as much as you can on playing things correctly. And learning every possible different move, knowing what every card does in the game. Just so you can interact with it and do your best.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like I play a lot of Magic the Gathering as well as Steven. I'm sure many of you have as well. And that game, I've noticed, the rules are so complicated in that game that I noticed the longer I played it and the more I actually understand the specific timing of card effects and how they all trigger, it makes me a better player because I'm able to manipulate the rules to my advantage more. Whereas other people didn't even know that was a possible effect, that you couldn't even do that combo, essentially, because they didn't know the rules allowed you to work it in that way. And I can see the rules aren't as complicated in this game, but they're kind of getting there. And if you know exactly what can happen and when, and you're playing against someone who doesn't, then that's going to give you an advantage. So everybody should understand these rules. They need to know them. If you want to be a good competitive player, you need to understand these rules.
Yeah. All right. So off our soapbox here. Let's go ahead and jump to the next one on the CRD. So apparently Panini misprinted the Red Shoulder Grab promo that they gave out at Gen Con. And they had to reword it in the CRD. So treat this card if it reads physical attack, damage at AT plus 3 stages, raise your anger 1 level. For the remainder of combat, all of your other attacks are considered to deal critical damage. Now this is even, in my opinion, a better wording than it was from the set 1 card. But yeah, it's the same effect as you previously should have been using. Physical attack, and then any other attacks you perform after that are that hit are considered to deal critical. So, and that is all the CRD changes. There is one tournament guide ruling change. Under the gameplay section, it says for the start procedure, past all the shuffling and everything, it says you may appeal to the head judge at any time. Unless you appeal to the head judge of the event, any decision made by the floor judge will be final. Not sure if they had an issue at the last regional or not, but just to let you know, judges make final decisions. Should be obvious, but just in case, you need to know that it is updated in the tournament guide for official purposes.
So hold on a second. Does that, like, I guess this is I haven't given this too much thought myself. Is this saying that if you ask for the ruling from a judge and you don't like their ruling, then you can appeal to the head judge? Or if they've already made that ruling, you don't like it, you just have to deal with it? Or maybe you have to appeal to the head judge first before you get the lower judge, I guess, to rule on it?
Well, let me. I don't want to read this out of context for you here. Let me read the whole thing then. So it's under the gameplay section. It's under start procedure. It says each game randomly determine which player takes the first turn. Players must thoroughly randomize their decks with sufficient shuffling, and any time a deck is shuffled, it must be presented to the opponent to be cut or shuffled. If required, if requested, your opponent may have a judge shuffle your deck. If your deck is shuffled by an opponent or judge, you may cut it before resuming play. Gameplay continues under normal rules, and players may call the judge for clarifications. Then the new text that's added, you may appeal to the head judge at any time. Unless you appeal to the head judge of the event, any decision made by the floor judge will be final.
Okay, so that does sound like what I was asking then. Like if you want a clarification and you want the head judge to clarify, you need to get him first before you ask for a lower judge.
Right. Essentially, if someone's out there on the floor judge and it's not a Panini representative, but it's an official judge, and they ruled something for you, you can't just go to a Panini representative and be like, "Hey, I think this should be judged this way," when someone else on the floor has already, given you their judgment call. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
It's like don't tattle. Don't tattle because your dad told you to do something, and go to your mom and ask her if you can do it.
That could be good. I mean, that could also raise some, that could put you in some questionable situations rules-wise. Like, what if a judge comes up and they do make a bad ruling, it's the wrong ruling, and you don't agree with it? What do you do in that situation? Do you call the head judge over and he's just like, "Well, sorry"? It's like, "I know." Yeah, it's like, "Yeah, you're right. He did make the wrong call, but according to the tournament guide, I can't do anything about it."
Well, I mean, essentially in that case, that would be the case. Yes, he wouldn't be able to really do anything about it because it is in the official tournament guide, but the floor judge would be penalized for that. It's not that these judges are just going to, "Oh, I can say whatever I want." No, I mean, essentially, if someone goes to Panini and says, "Hey, he judged it wrong," and Panini's like, "Yeah, he did judge it wrong," then he will face the consequences of being official judge, and whatever Panini decides to do with that is what they'll do with that. But I feel that would be the case. I mean, if the circumstances came to me, if I made the wrong call for something and I was able to judge, and then Panini came by, I was like, "No, you did the wrong call on that. We can't go back and change the gameplay of that match because
Right.
you're official floor judge, but because you did that call, we're gonna have to essentially write you up for that." And then after so many write-ups, you lose your official judge badge, or whatever they give out for that.
They need to have something in place like that. I mean, I understand that not every judge is perfect. They're not gonna rule every situation exactly how it should be, because it's up to them really, and sometimes to make a decision which may not be perfectly outlined in the rule book. But they're going to make mistakes sometimes, and that's just something we have to deal with. The judge isn't always going to rule in your favor.
Yeah.
We just have to keep that in mind.
And and I'm sure there. I mean, like you said, there's gonna be possible chances that people make mistakes, but I'm sure Panini already has something in play for that. I don't know. In the official tournament guide, I don't know if that would necessarily be a place to put. We punish our judges for not judging correctly. I mean, it would be. It would be nice, I guess, if the community knew that would be the case, so that way they can be like, okay, well, if it does get misjudged, hopefully it's not on me, and they get punished for it. But at the same time, it's like putting that in official documentation. Could cause some issues as well, and
Yeah, I can understand that. They may have something in place, right?
Yeah.
Like I just feel if like I'm at a regional or something, and like maybe I'm playing, for first place at a regional tournament or worlds even. Let's put the stakes higher. I'm playing world tournament, first place, and comes to a ruling question, and I call a judge over, and he makes a call that was incorrect, and I look back on it later, and like, hey, after the tournament's already over, it's like, hey, he made a wrong call. Like I want to have the peace of mind of knowing that I can send that to Panini, they can look it over and say, hey, yeah, he did make the wrong call, and we're going to actually attempt to do something about it, instead of just, oh, well, tough luck.
Oh, I'm sure they'll definitely do something about it. But, if it's a peace of mind for this, when it comes to the top 16, there's going to be judges watching, and every event, as far as I know, there's supposed to be at least one Panini. They're probably, especially now since there's not that many Panini representatives. There's for Dragon Ball Z, there's probably going to be at least one Panini official judge. I know that Ike. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Ike. He was at Gen Con, and he was over literally looking at people on the top, when they hit top 16, top 8, top 4, he was there, right there, making sure everything was going perfect for him. He was, he was doing the judging essentially for the top. So, and if you're playing, there's 230 something people, and you got 3 judges on the floor and a Panini representative there for judging, there's possible chances that those 3, judges walking the floor that aren't Panini could make a miscall, on something. But when it comes down to actually being the top 16, top 8, you're in the top of something, there's more than likely there's going to be someone from Panini watching that. And
that's very true.
And it's going to make sure that it gets rolled correctly for you. If the stakes are that high, Panini's there,
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Oh, it did. Hold on a second. Did we even talk about Goldo?
Huh? Well, sort of, but not sort of. Oh, wrong card. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know if we should mention that. I'm just gonna boom. Goldo is overpowering everything else. So I guess essentially what you wanted to bring up, because we didn't really directly talk about it. I was I was putting it out there for everybody to let them, as far as like Goldo and then the blue guard at the same time. But just in case anyone's confused about the change to Goldo, I guess, so to speak, from, I guess, 2 CRDs ago. Essentially, it came up where, allies essentially couldn't make actions.
It was Ginyu's level 1 effect that they were having a question about.
Well, yeah. It was Ginyu's level 1 effect, and it was because Red Escape? No, not Red Escape. Red Restriction. Red Restriction popped out, and Red Restriction, essentially you can only attack and defend, or you can only attack or pass during your action. And essentially, they used Captain Ginyu's level 1 ability, and he chose Goldo to be able to make actions. But he wasn't at 0 or 1, and essentially the player was trying to defend with Goldo. And defending is not an action. Is not an action whatsoever. And even in the rulebook, there's nowhere it says it's an action. Essentially, you can use 1 shield card. Essentially, you see the shield before the power. You can use 1 shield card anytime your opponent performs an attack on you. So, no matter, you have to be at 0 or 1 above to use Goldo to defend for you, regardless of Ginyu's power, because that is not an action, and Ginyu specifically says, they can make actions.
Right, which I was playing that incorrectly as well. Just, it's how it's always been. They just felt the need to clarify that in the CRD. Like, hey, it's not considered an action to defend. So you can't have Goldo use his ability. You can't name Goldo. Well, you can name Goldo with Captain Ginyu's level 1 power, but you can't use his power.
Right.
Right, because it's, like you said, a defense is not an action. So it doesn't work that way.
Right. Which, technically, since nothing's changed, it's just more clarified. Piccolo and Chi-Chi actually became a little bit more powerful than Goldo, due to the fact that if you play as Gohan, you can stop an energy or a physical attack with them without them having to take control, or having them
perform an action.
Yes, we'll go with that. Technically, it's 0 or 1 is how they're worded, but yeah. Or Goku with Chi-Chi. Or Goten whenever he's released in like 6 sets from now.
They've already prepared for it though. It's on the card. It's on Chi-Chi.
I'm glad though. I'm glad they're thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, me too.
So, all right. So let's get on with our normal show here. I do apologize. I know that took a little while. We won't take that long explaining what we're going to do initially, but from here on out, we do want to get more in depth in the rules and help out the community with any questions they may have. I mean, I already mentioned that I want people to comment on here with any cool cards and combos and anything that they had questions on, so we can evaluate them. So this is just another thing to help out the community with education on this card game, because we love this game. It was our childhood back in Score. It could be someone's childhood now. I don't know. But it's definitely a lot of people's adulthood. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I feel that a lot of people that I've seen playing the game, like at the local tournaments and stuff, used to play the game, back in the day, and they're getting back into it again, which is really cool. Because like you said, that's what me and you, we played this game when we were teenagers, and it was like consumed our lives. That's what we did, was played this game. That's like all we freaking did for years, and it's great to see the game return.
4 years, man. 4 years every day. We were at each other's houses just playing Dragon Ball Z after school. That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
All right. So the first card I'm going to mention that we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about Red Stomach Dive. Okay. Red Stomach Dive, physical attack, doing AT plus 4 stages, attached to your main personality. While attached, when performing an attack, you may lower your anger 1 level. If you do, that attack deals plus 2 life cards of damage. Destroy this card when you take critical damage. So I wanted to bring this up because in the way this is worded, and I was the whole wording issues that we're going through right now. It says while attached, when performing an attack, you may lower your anger 1 level. Performing the attack is during the same step in the CRD for you actually paying the cost of the card, which is before any immediate effects of the card happen. Granted, physical attacks don't have a cost on them, but this still falls in the same category. So keep in mind that when you perform an attack that gains you anger, you can't use the anger of that attack to buff that attack with this card. Essentially, you have to already have anger for you to be able to buff the attack. So I have to have 1 anger, perform an attack, lose 1 anger, gain the 2 life cards on that attack, then I can use the immediate effect of that attack. And if it gains me an anger, I get an anger out of it. But just, so everybody knows, you actually have to pay the anger when you pay the cost of the card for you to gain the extra 2 life cards out of this.
Right, so you have to actually have the anger to begin with in order to pay it.
Exactly.
You have to have at least 1 anger when performing the attack. Even if the card gains you anger, that doesn't come until after you have to pay the anger for the bonus effect.
Correct. So, and I also want to throw this out there. This is a really good card that doesn't get utilized very often. I don't know. I haven't seen many God Gokus with it in here, but I think this card's really awesome. It's a physical for +4, and you can stay on a level by lowering your anger and deal extra 2 life cards with your attacks. I mean, come on, that's got to be pretty awesome right there. So the next card I was going to bring up, we'll just go in order here. Saiyan Energy Focus. Energy attack costs 2 stages, dealing 3 life cards damage. Choose 3 non-personality, non-mastery cards in play. Those cards lose all effects until end of turn.
Combat.
Oh, until end of combat, sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
So I know that a lot of people use this on Wallbreaker, and then they're like, yay, I got a crit. And it's like, well, technically you canceled out the crit part of the card as well, so Wallbreaker doesn't get gone. But you can gain anger during that combat. But this does stop effects of attached cards, which is one reason why I wanted to bring it up. You can stop the effect of Stomach Dive. You can stop the effect of Tree of Might because they're technically in play while they're attached to your main personality. You can choose these types of cards, which can nerf people's damage. I mean, just energy attack. Oh, all your attacks do -2 stages for the remainder of combat. I mean, why not? That sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. this card, I mean, it's from the first set, right? And I've loved this card since I saw it because it's I like not even knowing about wall breakers or other attached cards, right? Because I don't think there even were any attached cards in the first set except for maybe Vegeta's anger.
Yeah, that's it.
But you know, who really cares about that?
I'm sure a lot of
Vegeta does, yeah. But another Saiyan deck playing against another Vegeta who has Vegeta's anger attached, you know, I don't know. Anyways, like, yeah, you can choose any 3 cards in play that are non-personality and non-mastery. The card is freaking amazing, especially because, like you just said, it can target attached cards, and there are a decent amount of attached cards now. In set 2, you know, they have the Wall Breaker was the big one. And in set 3, they've come out with some other ones that are pretty good, like what was this one, the Red Stomach Dive. But yeah, I mean, it can stop those effects. It can also stop Bulma. You know, she attaches a card to her.
Yes.
You can stop the effect of that card.
The orange drills, you can stop the effect of the defense. You can stop the physical defense and the energy defense with 1 card, and then all your other attacks get through, including this attack.
Oh wait, no, never mind. Bulma doesn't work because she's a personality.
Yeah, she is a personality.
Never mind. Okay, take that back. Yeah. I'm remembering, like, from the first set, they didn't clarify if allies were considered personalities or not, but they have actually clarified that in CRD, so disregard what I just said.
Yeah,
it was ambiguous. Yeah, they clarified. It was ambiguous before, it's not anymore, so you cannot use this on allies. So disregard the Bulma statement. The more you know.
Yes. Hey, get excited, man! Get excited. All right. This is pseudo reprint from the old game though, and you were able to choose. I know you were able to choose masteries, weren't you?
Well, there wasn't really anything like this in the old game that I can remember.
I thought there was. You could choose. You were able to choose like someone's sensei and their mastery, and you could shut them down for the combat.
There were cards like that, but they told you specifically what they shut off. You didn't need to choose. Yeah.
But this one's really awesome. Choose 3 cards, man. I totally would open up with this. I choose the energy defense, so this gets through, a physical defense, so it gets through, and then I would just choose something that buffs my opponent's damage. And look at that. I nerf their damage for combat, and my stuff's getting through.
Yeah, it's great too. If your opponent has setups in play, you don't want them using it. If they have Dragon Balls that you don't want them using the effects of. I mean, it's an all-around good card. If your opponent has things in play, which most of your opponents will, this card is going to help you win the game. It's just that simple.
Blue stretch kick. Cancel that sucker out.
Oh, yeah. A blue stretch kick, exactly. Yeah. You can't use that card.
Yeah.
I know the Dragon Balls are a big one, too. Like, I have a Saiyan deck, and I like to use this on Dragon Balls, just because Dragon Ball 6 is a big one when you're playing Saiyan deck. Your beatdown deck, they're preventing 2 power stages, or causing your attacks to do -2, modifying it. -2 power stages, you can put an end to that with this card, which is not something you can really easily do unless you capture that Dragon Ball somehow, or shuffle it back into their deck, which Saiyan really can't do. But if your opponent's got Dragon Ball 1, you're gonna have to capture that first and then capture the 6. But with this, you can just say, screw all that. You can't use the effect, and I'm gonna do more damage.
Yeah.
So all around good card.
It is. Tis it is. All right. So next card, I just want to throw this out there. It's Blue Betrayal, and everyone knows what Blue Betrayal does. Physical attack, do an AT, banish an opponent's setup, drill, or ally in play. It is, like, amazing. I wish other styles had a card that just straight up banished, anything they wanted, pretty much, in play.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason why I want to bring it up, along with Tree of Might, so Tree of Might attaches to your main personality, and just in case some people might got confused about this, because I can see this pretty easily getting confused, when a card is attached, it still keeps all its card effects. So or card attributes, I guess I should say. So even while this is attached, it's still considered a setup. So cards like Blue Betrayal can banish Tree of Might while it is attached. So just keep that in mind. If there's any cards that affect like card attributes like setups, physical combat, or anything like that, they still can affect cards while they're attached.
Yes, those cards are still the same type that they were when they're attached.
Yeah, so could be a big deal, especially if you're playing. I mean, if you got Blue Betrayal in your deck, because you're playing Control and you're going in there, and then you come against a Saiyan beatdown deck or a red beatdown deck that's running Tree of Might, and you're like, man, it's attached. I don't really get anything, and like they don't have a lot of setups because they're playing beatdown. Shoot, Blue Betrayal, that nerfs their damage right there. Get rid of that. Get rid of Tree of Might. Gone right there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, and just in case y'all are wondering why Vegeta's here, so I honestly, I pulled up Red Stomach Dive and I pulled up Tree of Might and I got everything going. And I was like, you know what? This looks kind of cool. This looks like a cool combo. This is like the only really combo I could think of for this video so far. And I thought about going ahead and doing it. Okay, so picture this. I'm level 3 Vegeta. All my attacks do +3. All my attacks that raise my anger do +3 life cards of damage and +3 power stages. I attach Tree of Might. Okay, so now they do +3 +5. Now I'm going to attach Red Stomach Dive that I can lower my anger to make it do +2 life cards. So I can literally stay on level 3 as long as I want playing red, as long as the card gains me an anger, and then I lose the anger, and now all my attacks do +5 life cards, +5 power stages, and I'm on level 3 for like ever. How is that not awesome?
It's amazing is what it is. If you can get on level 3 Vegeta with Tree of Might and Red Stomach Dive attached, your damage output is going to be absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
+5 power stages and +5 life cards on all attacks that raise your anger is just absolutely crazy. I mean, that's like the biggest damage buff in the game. It really is.
Yeah.
It's humongous. And if you can actually do this, I haven't seen it in person, but yes, the idea is awesome, and I would love to see it actually being used. Because if you got to that, I just feel that your opponent would just concede out of out of despair, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, okay, you've got a handful of attacks, and they're all just from your power doing +5/+5. Not to mention what the card actually says.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be game over if your opponent cannot stop your attacks. That is it. It's done.
Yep.
You're doing enough damage on your critical effects just from your modifiers. I mean, from your physical attacks, just on your modifiers to do a critical damage effect.
Right, yeah. So you gain an anger right there that you're going to pay with, just straight up right there that you can use. I do want to mention, though, like, I know I don't have the cards out here. I apologize. I just literally thought of this while we're recording. So on Red Stomach Dive, there's an event. It's called... Of course, I can't think of it. Red City Destruction? I think it's Red City Destruction. It's an event.
Like that.
And for the remainder of combat, all cards, or any card that requires you to lower your anger is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 0. By the way, Red Stomach Dive does not say it's a limit 1 to be attached at a time like other cards are. You can have 3 Red Stomach Dives attached at the same time. Now, granted, it would cost you 3 anger to get the modifiers from that, but combo that with the Red City Destruction. Go ahead and throw that red drill out there that all your attacks do additional +1 power stage. I mean, I know that this is just amazing godlike stuff here, but that's like 6, 7, 8, 9 life cards and 6 power stages with all your attacks for that combat. I mean,
holy shit. If you could actually successfully pull that off, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be hard enough to get that set up in the first place, but if you do it, you're pretty much guaranteed the victory at that point.
Yeah, you pretty much are. But with you were saying the critical thing, I mean, just keep in mind that you can attach multiple Red Stomach Dives, which is awesome because, I mean, if you're at level 3 and you're wanting to stay at level 3, having 2 attached, you're not leaving level 3 for sure. Like, you could be like, oh, I might not want to use my critical damage effect because otherwise I'm forced to gain an anger with my mastery. You have 2, you're good. You're golden. You know, you're staying at level 3 for sure, and you're getting extra, 4 life cards out of that as well. Mm-hmm. You can. My biggest thing with that was shoulder grab, because shoulder grab's awesome, makes all my stuff get crits, but I gain anger super freaking fast, and if you want to stay on level 3, you kind of have that issue. But yeah. Anyways, I'll stop rambling about how awesome Red Stomach Dive is for Red Beatdown and Vegeta, which y'all need to go out there and test. Red Vegeta, guys, come on, go test it. It's still viable. And it's amazing.
Yes. I played against one in the last tournament I went to, and he beat me, and he did a lot of damage, and it actually worked out pretty well. Really, the red restriction I've noticed is just such a huge card in red beatdown decks. I mean, that like no other style has a card like that, where you're just going into combat, you're saying, we're just going to attack each other this combat, and if you don't have any attacks, then you're just going to have to pass. You're just going to have to take it. Because that's what that card says. I mean, they can only attack or pass in their action, and it's just ridiculous because they can enter with a whole handful of attacks or attacks and defense and be perfectly fine. Well, your opponent who maybe has a bunch of setups in play, or some other effects they want to use events in their hand, they can't use any of those. Red beatdown is good. People need to make more red beatdown decks.
Yeah. And speaking of that specific card, Red Restriction, it has been on Facebook a lot lately. I'm not sure why. But people keep questioning if they can use Visiting the Past if their opponent played Red Restriction. Yes, you can. Visiting the Past is when entering combat. Red Restriction is you can only attack or pass during your action. You still have your other steps that you get to do when entering, at the end of combat. All those are still fine. It's just your only actions can be attack or pass for combat. So just keep that in mind. If they Red Restriction you, use your Visiting. Get you something to defend yourself, because more than likely they're coming strong at you.
Yeah, more than likely. So. And it's going to be a critical effect, and a critical effect, and a critical effect.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for today. So I do thank you for, I guess, being here with us, because I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. And I want to give a shout out to, of course, Fearless for all the awesome audio work that he does for us. And thanks to, obviously I can't do this without DBZ Top Tier and Octagon with this nice layout that I get for all these cards. Thank you, Justin, for always showing up to this video.
No problem. I do what I can.
But once again, my name is Steven.
Yep, I'm Justin.
And we'll see you later.